Musicians Talk Show is brought to you by Bandzoogle. Bandzoogle makes it easy to build a stunning website for your music in minutes. Choose from hundreds of mobile-friendly themes, then customize your design and content in a few clicks with Bandzoogle's easy visual editor. All the features you need for a professional website are already built in, including tools to sell your music and merch commission-free right on your website, mailing list tools to grow your fan list and send newsletters, integrations to pull in content from all your online services like Twitter, Instagram, and SoundCloud, and live support from their musician-friendly team 7 days a week. Bandzoogle plans start at just $8.29 a month and include your own free custom domain name. So go to bandzoogle.com to try it free for 30 days, and be sure to use the promo code TMTS to get 15% off your first year of your subscription. Okay, before we get started, Matt and I have lots of great ideas to improve the podcast, but we can't do it without you. So if you want to help us grow, click support the show at musicianstalkshow.com and consider signing up for our Patreon. We have tons of great perks and rewards for you, such as early guest reveals, a weekly live Q&A, and access to a monthly exclusive episode only for our patrons.
Sign up for our mailing list on our website to gain access to our private community on Discord. There you can communicate with Dallas and I directly about all things TMTS. You can also follow at Musicians Talk Show on Instagram to discover new episodes, vote in polls, and join the conversation.
Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Musicians Talk Show podcast. I am one of your three hosts for today. This is episode 49. I'm Dallas DeWhite.
I'm Matt Tolley.
And with us, we have special guest co-host Ben Hoyt. Ben, say hello.
How's it going, guys?
Dude, we're doing awesome. And I just met Ben, and we're going to talk a lot about that. But first, Ben, why don't you introduce yourself to our audience and just tell us kind of like how you got started in music and what you do and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, thanks, man. I've been playing music since I was tiny. I started when I was 4 or 5 or so, and I remember wanting to play the violin from a very young age, and my mother kind of warning me against it and saying, hey, if you do that, it's going to be really squeaky, and you probably want to do something like play the piano or something that sounds nice. And so I played a little piano for a little bit. I was lucky enough to have parents who got me lessons and everything, but I was really, really firm on the violin, and eventually they gave in, and they were like, all right, but you got to practice. So I picked it up when I was, I think, 7 or so, and I've been playing ever since, and it's just a beautiful instrument. And I started out doing classical and a little Irish fiddle, and I've kind of branched out a little bit to do, alternative stuff, some pop stuff, some, like the rock and roll that we just did a couple days ago. And it's been a really cool journey. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, man, I got a kick, and we'll talk about the show because it was such, for me, it's going to go down as probably a very big moment in my life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure that's true for all of the people that were involved. But I got to say this. I got a kick out of one of the videos. You know what? It was Louie. And you took your solo on Louie, the violin solo. And like you got in this like hard like power stance, and you were like going at it, dude.
Yeah.
I got a kick out of that. I thought that was the coolest thing.
Oh man, that was so much fun.
Yeah,
that
Ben
was
shreds you guys for the evening of the Stars fucking show, dude. Everybody there shredded, but Ben like seriously standout violin playing, dude. Amazing, very clean and very very professional. It was great.
Well, thank you guys. I mean, I really appreciate that. It was just it's that song. What a song to end on. I mean, just so much fun. Yeah, everyone takes a solo. You're just going around doing your thing, and I was feeling it. We'd just finished. We were at the end of this incredible show with these incredible people on stage, and I was just that's exactly what I did. Is I kind of stepped forward and I really dug in and just had a blast with it. There are those rare moments when you get in the flow and you're not even thinking. You're just like you're in the moment. So it's like time is extended almost. You know what I mean?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah,
definitely felt similar in a lot of that. The energy was so high. It was just perfect.
Definitely. Great ending.
So let's talk about what we're talking about, which is the Evening with the Stars event.
Yes.
We talked about this on the podcast already, right?
I think we talked about it preemptively, yes.
Okay, well now it's happened.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about what it was. Maybe Matt, Ben and I were in it. Maybe you're better to describe what it is since you were kind of seeing it go down.
Sure. Yeah. So
tell us a little bit about what it was.
Yeah. So Bruce McKagan put on a great event. It's a charity event for
his nonprofit, The Rock,
yes.
which stands for Renew Our Community, ROC,
right.
The Rock.
Right. Well, so it was great. There was some great videos and stuff like that, and people who've been helped by the community basically has been picked up from this organization, and the players that they brought in for this were outstanding. Some of the best players. Duff McKagan. Bruce knows pretty well.
Yeah, I would say that.
And Tommy DiCarlo from Boston,
lead singer from Boston,
and Parthenon Huxley from ELO.
He plays and sings for the orchestra.
Okay,
which is the name of the band. So basically, ELO was obviously Electric Light Orchestra, a big famous band, and then they disbanded, and some of them got back together and created ELO Part 2.
Okay,
and then they were sued for the name and changed it to the orchestra. So it's kind of like what do you call it?
Sublime, the same kind of thing.
Like when a band comes back but not with all the original guys. I don't know. It's that. It's
I don't
that
know what
basically.
It's called,
yeah.
But anyway, he's awesome.
I think the full name is the orchestra starring former members of ELO. That's how they bill it.
Okay.
So,
and it was George Green. Is that
Gary Green?
Gary Green. Sorry, jeez, I knew
he's the percussionist, the touring percussionist for Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yes,
and he was our drummer.
He's a great guy. Awesome energy and
really
a lot
fun
of
to hang
fun.
with.
Yeah.
And then we had us Young Bucks. So
yes.
it was
as
Ben,
the house band.
Yeah. It was Ben, me. Ben was playing violin, of course. I was playing guitar. Quentin was playing piano and backing vocals as well. I'm forgetting Chelsea, but we'll talk about that separate because she wasn't part of the actual band thing. Am I forgetting anyone else, Ben? I feel like that was everybody.
I think that was everyone. Yeah.
Cool.
And then we had Chelsea Locklear came up and sang a song in between we did an acoustic set and electric set, and she sang her song.
And she's killer. She's a killer.
And she's
writer.
awesome as well. Yeah. So I mean, Ben, I gotta know, what are some of the standout moments for you from not just the show, but I mean, we were as a group basically together from Wednesday at noon until late Thursday night. So I mean, we spent a whole lot of time together in a very short amount of time, a couple of days.
Yeah, it was a hectic 36 or 48 hours or whatever it was, but I mean, as you said, it's one of those events that will definitely stick with me for the rest of my life. And I think one of the most telling things about it was, so we had the rehearsal, the 3 or the 4 of us the day before the show to kind of get the songs together, get stuff ready for the full rehearsal we had the day of the show. And that single rehearsal we had, 5 hours before the show or whatever, we got everything together. We pretty much ran everything once, maybe ran the choruses of a couple songs again if we needed to work out harmonies and stuff. But we finished rehearsal an hour and a half early.
Yeah.
The only full rehearsal that we had for this ridiculous show. And, we had tons of time to hang out and talk and everything. And the show was phenomenal. So the fact that you're surrounded by these incredible people who can put something like that together so quickly, who've done their homework, have done all the preparation, learned the stuff, and are really quick on their feet with putting it together, was just such a fantastic experience,
Yeah. Again, for me, the energy of those couple days was, really good.
Yeah.
And it was real positive. There was no drama, no meltdowns,
Absolutely.
no yelling, no screaming, nothing bad. It was all positive.
That's great.
And
that makes
that's not always the case.
So. It makes the whole experience better. It's great.
Yeah. But Ben, like Ben said, we threw it together. The Wednesday rehearsal was we finished early, and then the day of rehearsal we finished early as well.
Yeah,
because Bruce came up to me after and was like, "It's only 2 or 3 o'clock, whatever he said." And we were supposed to finish an hour after that. Yeah. So he was like, "I don't know. I guess you guys just hang out. You guys finished way earlier than I thought."
And the other thing is, I think we started an hour and a half late or something after we were supposed to.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a nice spread in the green room. They hooked you guys up. That was cool.
Yeah, we had some vegan catering.
Yeah.
Caterers.
Oh, that stuff was delicious, man.
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah, Ben's all about meat too, and he even loved it. At least that was my understanding. But yeah, the vegan catering was great. So they threw a couple people affiliated with The Rock threw a dinner party for a lot of the band members at their house on Wednesday night after rehearsal.
Yeah.
And that was a real good time for fellowship. We all got to know each other. Ben and I talked for 3 hours about just the most meta, heady shit.
Nice. Nice.
Astronomy and all this wacky shit. But I feel like those kind of conversations with Hux and Ben and all these other people and Quentin directly attributed to the positive energy. Like it basically straight up translated to stage
comfortability,
like the good vibes and like the energy of the show. I feel like that was all in the rapport that we created with each other really quick.
Yeah, the camaraderie and
yeah.
Well, what happened after the gig, I think we should probably talk about, because we just started, I just heard about it just before we started this, but Ben, how did you get home?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, I was fine getting home. I flew on in, I got back to my apartment, everything's fine. And I had a gig the next morning. So I was up and about, got my breakfast, got my violin, got everything, hop in my car, and I'm driving up to this gig. It's like, it's 5-10 minutes away or so. And I'm cruising on up Charles Street in Baltimore where I live. And a guy just runs a stop sign right in front of me as I'm crossing one of the cross streets up ahead. And, I'm going 35 or 40 or something. And all of a sudden there's this car right in front of me. And, I didn't know what to do. And your brain kind of goes into that mode where in those 2 seconds, it runs through 100 different solutions to the problem and it tries to figure out what to do. And time seems to slow down. And it really did, because it was probably about 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds from spotting the car to collision. But I slammed on the brakes, I swerved, and we collided. I'm pretty sure my car is totaled, and it was an interesting welcome back to Baltimore. But
You're
no
okay
one was
though,
hurt.
right?
No one was hurt, which is really good. Everyone's fine. I got a couple bumps, he got a couple bruises, and it's funny. He was actually a really nice guy. He was like, I'm really, really sorry. And we ended up talking about it, and everything's perfectly fine. But unfortunately the gig I was going to play at didn't have a violin that morning. So
I think they might have understood.
They did. I FaceTimed them as it was happening, and the guy was like, yeah, you take care of that. Don't worry about that. So we're all good. Yeah. But thanks for asking. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I thought it was actually on the way home from the gig. I misunderstood when you said I thought it's just right after you got home.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So I had Hux called me this morning, I think. Yeah. Today's Sunday. It's been a long day. So Hux called me and we were just talking about the show and stuff. And I said, yeah, glad to hear everyone got home safe, safe travels, all that kind of stuff. And he said, yeah, so Ben totaled his car this morning. I was like, well, damn it. Like,
yeah,
I thought everyone made it home safe. So, so we are glad to hear that no one was hurt, because that could have easily been a lot more serious.
Yeah, it could. And the funny thing is that at that intersection, there was a guy in a tow truck who watched the whole thing happen.
Oh, wow.
So as soon as this happened, he popped out. He's like, "You okay? What's going on?" He was helping out. He called the cops and everything. And then he was like, "Hey, I got my tow truck right here. So this is pretty convenient, huh?"
That's the picture I got. I got the picture of the truck backing up to your wrecked Toyota. What kind of Toyota is it? 4Runner?
Yeah, it's a Toyota Sequoia. It's my baby,
the big one.
I went by the junkyard or whatever to get stuff from it today, and it was so sad,
Sure.
Yeah, man.
Your vehicle's a part of you, kind of. So definitely have a lot of memories that go along with it. How long have you had it?
Oh, probably about 6 or 7 years now.
Oh, wow. So paid off and probably, got some love equity in it.
Yep.
My car is definitely that way, man. My car is basically the first car I've ever had. Like, I got it when I was 17.
Okay. So that's good then. It looks great.
It's doing all right. Yeah, it's starting to show its age a little bit.
It's all right, though. Gets the job done. Oh, it needs a little plug for that sensor in the back door.
That's a whole thing. So one thing I wanted to ask you, Ben, was what are some of the, one or two things that really stuck out to you over the course of your time down here?
Well, I think the main thing for me was just that from the moment I set foot off the plane to the moment we were stepping back on again, pretty much 99 or 100% even of the interactions I had with everyone were so friendly and warm and welcoming, from, the catering that lasted the entire 2 days we were there, to everyone we were playing music with, to, the wonderful couple that hosted us at their house. I mean, we were very well taken care of, and that is not always the case. So I'd say that's number one. That's the big one. Number two, the incredible musicianship of the people that we played with, and just the positivity and the ability to adjust and figure things out really quickly and come prepared, 100% prepared was just fantastic. And, I think, I guess the third main thing was just the show. Show was awesome,
Yeah, it was cool.
whether I was playing or when I was off stage watching the others play their songs, it was just so tight.
Yep.
And so musical, and the crowd loved it. I mean, they were totally into it, and so was I. I was rocking out the whole night. So, yeah.
One thing that really stuck out to me was how much of the final like show performance was improvised and different from rehearsal.
Yeah.
Because we had only rehearsed once, and Knocking on Heaven's Door was extremely different when we performed it. Louie Louie was almost completely different, and it ended up working so smoothly. Like it was like we had this chemistry as a group, which should not have been there because we barely knew each other.
But spending the time together before it probably really does pay off, and then in rehearsal you're still not totally warmed up, but then by the time the gig rolls around, you guys
I mean, we were together as a
camaraderie.
group, the whole band and crew and everything, for about 12 hours on Thursday.
That's cool.
It's 11 to 11.
That's right.
And a lot of that time was not playing music. We were just, eating vegan food and laughing, telling jokes and telling stories and all kinds of stuff.
You know what? It reminds me of like the 24-hour EP when we went out to eat before then. Even just that little tiny thing, just go out to eat beforehand. So that way it's like, all right, let's get our heads together and like synchronize our watches kind of thing.
I love that metaphor that you say, synchronize your watches. And that's exactly what it is. You got to get on the same page, and you got to kind of establish some chemistry. That way, when it's time to be creative, it flows, and you work off each other, even though it shouldn't make sense that way. But it does.
Right.
It does.
And Bruce was actually talking to me about that. And he was saying after the rehearsal, he was just going on and on about that specific word, about the chemistry of the group, and how a lot of times you get a group of musicians together for a paid gig and it doesn't really gel. It just kind of, the performance will be okay. It'll be good, but you don't really get that magic kind of whatever it is that you can't quite put your finger on. But he was saying that when everyone's on stage, pretty much every single song we did from an audience point of view, there was magic in the air. Yeah. And that's rare,
Could be partially too due to the respect everybody had for each other. All the musicians, everybody knew who they were and what, that's big, that's huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we threw, and even things like we threw "Easy" by Lionel Richie in the set,
like killer song,
very last minute.
I love that song. And
so last minute that Duff and Hux didn't even play guitar on it. They were just like, "We're not going to learn that."
Yeah,
just
they're
you guys do it.
They're doing the ooh and ahs.
Yeah, so we were working on it in rehearsal, and it was, very briefly at the end, because I think Bruce walked in and was like, "So we need to do Easy," and we were like, "Okay," and
figured out those weird chords real quick.
There's a lot of chords, and then it modulates up a half step at the end. Right. So like there's a lot more, it's a lot going on in that song to throw together last second. It's not like Louie Louie where you can fake your way through it, So
maybe this is a way we could segue into ways you can practice for really quick, rapid time figure out a song. You know what I mean? What were your techniques? I mean, you could talk about that. And Ben can talk about that.
Ben is the king of practicing, and I was soaking up all the tips he was telling me. So I want Ben to go through, and you can be, violin specific, but also general to just any instrument and music in general. But what are some practice tips and discussion topics that you might have surrounding that? Because I know that's something you're pretty passionate about.
Yeah, I mean, where to start? I mean, there's you can practice if you practice quote unquote correctly, and you focus really hard, and you do the right tips and tricks and stuff for 20 minutes. You can get more done. You can improve on your instrument more than you would playing for 6 hours on autopilot. Yeah. And I think, that's something that I've played violin my whole life, but I've never really fully internalized that until actually, a few years ago. I really realized that those short little, those little chunks where you are going 120% and you're on fire and you are, doing your slow practice with the metronome, and you're doing rhythms, and you're moving the metronome up one click and at a time, and just spending so much time practicing slowly. It just pays off, and it pays off quickly. One of the ways that I like to think about practicing, like if you have a fast lick that you're playing, or if you're trying to learn or something, the best way to get that under your fingers is to start really slow. Put the metronome on really slow, and then as you get better at it, you move it up very, very slowly, but do not practice stuff really fast if you can't play it, because if you're messing up, then you're internalizing things. You're sort of building the wrong habit.
Right.
Yep. You're getting good at playing sloppy.
Right.
Exactly.
Making it your routine. Yeah.
Right. And of course you can learn stuff that way, and you can, learn songs quickly or whatever. But if you just want to improve your technique overall, if you're not specifically trying to learn a lick or a song or whatever, if you're just trying to get better at your instrument as a whole, then slow practice is the way, man. Slow practice.
Yeah. Yeah. I've actually heard Satchel from Steel Panther talks about that. Literally just super slow. Because he's a speed guy and whatever. So he makes sure people know, like,
I'm more surprised that he gave an honest answer.
He does tend to take that seriously, though. Actually,
really?
I've seen in his guitar videos where, because and he used to be a teacher too, so he kind of
works with Paul
understands
Gilbert and stuff.
Right. So I think that, but he's one of the ones that definitely advocates start slow. Yeah. Do not go fast right away. It seems like the thing to do, but it's not what you want.
Yeah, well, you're like we said, you'll get good at being bad, basically.
Exactly. So you can make mistakes and just get used to making that mistake, and you won't fix it.
And that's harder to fix than to just get it right the first time.
Yeah.
But it definitely takes a special kind of patience that I personally don't always have. I want to rush to the fun part, the fast part, all that stuff. I'm very impatient in that way.
Oh, me too. I mean,
you have
everyone
to sit
does.
back and really, grind.
Yeah. And everyone has that, and that's why, I can't practice an hour straight really, really, really focused. By about 40 minutes or so max, my mind's going to start wandering because I've just been putting the pedal to the metal for so long.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, you just have to kind of, one of the things I like to do is, if I'm doing scales, I like to warm up with scales, and I'll do slow scales for a while, a nice chunk of time. And what I'll do is I'll kind of treat it almost like meditation, and I'll think about it as, I'm just in the moment. You get in the flow of it, and you're just doing this one thing. You don't let other things get into your mind. You don't worry about, playing it really fast or whatever. All you're doing is just being in the present moment and just feeling the vibration of your instrument and feeling where your finger hits the fretboard or, the neck of the violin or whatever you're playing. And that awareness really, really helps to internalize things on a very deep level, which will last a lot longer than if you just learn something real quick and, you might forget it the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
Really internalizing it, definitely. And you'd say probably like hearing those intervals over and over is a great technique to getting in your mind what a scale sounds like, and repetition and doing it cleanly is obviously the best way to do any of that kind of thing.
And by the way, when Ben says slow scales, he means way slower than I thought he meant.
Really? How slow?
He's talking like each note on the
many beats per
violin,
minute?
and this is something I learned from Ben over the course of our time together. What you're going for, and Ben, chime in anytime and tell me I'm an idiot if I'm wrong, but you're going for tone with that bow.
Right.
You really want a nice smooth tone, so you don't get any of that scratchy, poor tone stuff that you can get on a violin.
Sure.
So it doesn't really apply in the same way as it would to like our instrument, because if we like our tone isn't sustained in the same way.
Right.
We hit a note and then it decays. With a violin, you got to keep it going.
There's a lot to do with the long
so
note.
When Ben was saying slow scales, he picked up his violin and started showing me what he meant, and he's literally like 2 to 5 seconds a note. So like 1, 2,
really,
real slow.
Yeah, and it's a good tone practice and technique. Yeah.
So that's great for violinists. Doesn't exactly apply to us.
Exactly. And I probably should have prefaced this as, I'm a violinist and string player, and that's the kind of stuff that's specific to this instrument. Mm-hmm. Every instrument has its own specific thing that's challenging or difficult, and as a result, the exercises you do for that will definitely be different. But coming from the position of a violinist or a cellist or a violist or whatever you play on the classical side of things, that's a lot of your time has to be spent doing that. The other thing that's tricky about the violin is that there are no frets. So it's kind of,
that's what kills me, man.
It kills me too. It's just awful,
Well, that's why internalizing the intervals, it really helps too, because when you hear it and it's not right, it's not right. So
Right. And you have to spend a lot of time working on intonation on the violin.
Yep.
Because, if your finger's a hair off, then the note's out of tune.
So as you guys know, I've been toying with violin a little bit,
Yep.
and I have these gigantic sausage fingers. So I mean, I have the
hardest time with the little neck.
itchiest time making that thing work, man.
Well, there's a very famous violinist. I don't know if you guys know who Itzhak Perlman is, who's I would say one of the greatest players of all time, incredible violinist. And he has these enormous sausage fingers. If you look up like a video of him playing or whatever, he is just dancing around that violin, but you look at his hand and you're like, how on earth are you doing that?
Yeah.
So,
There's hope for me yet then.
there is hope for you always, man.
I just want to get barely proficient.
Yeah.
That's my goal. I don't need to be the next Ben. Dude, Ben was playing through some scales, just warming up, whatever, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah.
Like it was just like that was the whole scale. I was like, there's no fucking way I'm playing that.
Well, the thing is, I mean, was I doing fast or whatever? Was it going?
Yeah, you were just doing like a single bow, slurring the whole scale, just
Right.
like all the way down.
Well, the thing with that is that's one of the things I do to warm up, but all that is muscle memory, man. That's, I'm not using my brain at all for that compared to what I would be doing for those 5-second bows,
Right.
It seems ironic, but most of your brain power for me is spent on that, what some would call tedious practice, and that kind of stuff. That's just getting my fingers warm, getting ready to go. And that's in a lot of ways a lot easier actually than doing that slow practice.
Yeah.
It definitely takes that mental focus, and that's what drains you,
Yeah,
absolutely.
And going faster, you don't have to be as precise because the note's not hanging as long, so you don't have time to process. You just hear a slew of notes.
Exactly. So
Cool.
interesting, man. I wanted to talk about kind of more on the business side of things. We're all independent musicians here, so I mean, what are we doing to create income from ourselves? Because Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, but you make all of your money from music.
That is correct. Yes.
So that's hugely admirable.
Definitely.
And I'm sure tons of musicians are jealous of you for doing that. So how are you doing that? I mean, what does that look like? Life as an independent musician making a living.
And when did you start taking that approach, and how did you make that transition? Just give us a whole kind of rundown of that.
I mean, I've been lucky enough the last, I guess it's been something like 4 or 5 years now, to have, made a living by playing the violin, which is kind of ridiculous.
That's crazy.
I think the main thing is because my whole life I've played classical music. That's kind of been my primary focus. I played in orchestras and quartets, and that's been the main thing. But as I started to branch out a little bit and discover other music, I got an electric violin probably 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago. And I got a loop pedal, and I started playing around with just this kind of fun stuff that you wouldn't learn from a traditional violin teacher. And one of the things I started doing about 10 years ago is I started street performing, and I have done a lot of street performing. My summers for the last 10 years or so have been the main source of my income. And what I'll do is I'll set up my violin and my violin case on the street, and I'll have my loop pedal, and I'll have a little amp, and I'll plug in, and I'll build up loops, and I'll record things, and kind of make it a little bit of an entertainment thing as well as music, so people can kind of see, oh, you did the chord progression, now you're layering some harmonies, oh, that's really cool, oh, and now he's playing this pop song or whatever. And the other thing that I would do is I would collect tips in my case, and I would also set out business cards. And I think that was, the decade I spent doing that was huge in sort of getting me into the gigging circuit in the DC Baltimore area.
Right.
And since then, most of the gigs I get are from other gigs. So I do a lot of weddings, a lot of corporate events, a lot of, random things where people want electric violin and loop pedal. You know, it's kind of an odd combo, but people seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, it works. It really does.
That's crazy. And one of the things I admired most about you upon meeting you and immediately picked up on was the hustle.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure you picked up on that too, Matt.
Yep.
But Ben, like, you don't seem to be one of the guys that's going to like wait around for it to happen. Like, you're going after it. You know what I mean?
Trying, man. Trying.
And that's what you have to do as a musician. And one thing you quickly realize being an independent musician, making your living from music, is how many different sources of revenue you need. You know, you're not just going to do one thing, and that probably not just going to do one thing.
And how many you can have, because maybe people don't realize how many different ways you can make money playing a violin. You know?
Yeah. So what are some of those? What are some of those? You know, varied streams of income for you, Ben?
Yeah, I think the world that I come from, most of the gigs are weddings. There's a ton of weddings. If you play in a string quartet, you know, people want that for their beautiful ceremonies. They walk down the aisle. I've played Pachelbel's Canon, you know, too many times to count, which is fine because they pay really well. And I think that for me, I've just been lucky enough to sort of find this niche where this is something that not many people are doing. And because it's unique, because it's different than the majority of, you know, violinists out there, I think people are drawn to that. So I've done Halloween parties, I've done baby showers, I've done weddings, I've played at festivals, I've played on the street, I've played outside, I've done, you know, house parties, I've done all sorts of random. I've played with DJs. You know, that's something I started doing a couple of years ago is playing electric violin with a DJ. You know, kind of random, but it's cool. You know,
definitely. I can see how that would be cool.
And I think just being open to everything is really, really important. Don't work for free. I think it's really important that, because people will try to you know, it'll be good experience, you know, it'll be whatever. Good exposure.
Did you see that thing we posted on Instagram the other day? We posted something that said, there's a meme, it's on our Instagram, anyone can see it, but it says something along the lines of,
good, my rent. You're
gonna get great exposure from this gig, but we can't pay you. And then the musician says, good, because my rent is 800 exposures.
Exactly.
It's so true, man. It's a shame. And the saddest part about it is that I have so many friends who I see who are struggling and trying to make it doing music, and they will go out and do a gig for, you know, nothing or very little. And, and for me, I think one of the reasons why I've been able to sort of work up to a certain level of income and, you know, success or whatever, if you want to call it that, is that at some point I just said, I'm not going to play a gig for less than this amount. Right. And I think being really firm about that, you know, unless you're like not going to eat or something, like, it's really, really important to let people know that you have a certain rate that you will not go under, because then they view you differently.
Yeah. Well, you're a professional at that point, and you value yourself accordingly. If you devalue yourself, it's like we talk about this all the time. Like, Matt, which one would you think is better, $100 guitar or a $3,000 guitar?
Do I think would be better?
Which one is like the nicer guitar?
The $3,000 guitar, because you get what you pay for, and I think people even believe that when they hire a musician, whether or not they are upset about having to pay money,
because they see that in all aspects of life.
Exactly.
You know,
exactly.
and it's not always true, but which house is better, the $2 million home or the $150,000 home?
Right.
It's true across most aspects of life.
So people, as long as you make it firm and have a number and you carry yourself with that number, then I think that people will be happy to pay it because they know they're getting good musicianship, you know?
Absolutely. So. And that's one of the things that I think a lot of musicians are they're afraid to ask for more, or in some cases,
there's a lot of self-doubt.
There's self-doubt, and there's this feeling of, oh, I'm not worth that much.
Right.
And the thing is, in most cases, you are worth that much. You know, you're doing something that no one else can do. You're bringing joy to people for a special event or whatever it is. And if you're barely able to feed yourself, then there's a problem, you know? So yeah, I would say to anyone who's aspiring to be successful in the gigging world or whatever you're doing, you know, hustle, B, definitely. You know, be really, really good, practice, and C, make sure that you're setting your bar high enough. Make sure you let people know if it's too little and decline. It's okay to say no to a gig.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You have to be your own manager. Like if as an independent artist, that's the thing. There's no separation anymore. You don't have somebody else saying, "Yo, this guy's good." You know,
You don't have a
to be that
publicist,
guy.
you don't have a
You have to be
manager,
your own support and your own salesman.
Yep.
Right.
And that's an uncomfortable position for a lot of creatives.
It is, exactly. It's not the same mindset usually.
Yeah, for sure. I had something I was about to say.
But you
and
can
I
learn.
totally
You can learn. You can learn to have a more business mindset, and that's where we're huge proponents of that. Being an independent musician and doing it on your own, because always, if you bring somebody else in it, they're going to be looking at it for themselves and could potentially see an opportunity to fuck you over, and they will. History has shown that they will.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm desperately trying to think of what I was going to say, and I can't remember.
Was it anything on the topics?
What were you saying a minute ago, Ben? Because it might trigger what I'm thinking. It was definitely related to being an indie musician and like the business working aspect.
Don't undersell yourself.
Yeah,
I can feel it like slipping further away, like the more seconds. So it's fine. This is gone.
Maybe we'll pop up and we'll come back into it.
So let's move on to the poll.
Okay, yeah.
We did last week. What was that poll, man?
We had a good one. We had Metallica versus Megadeth, and it was cool because at first it started out, I was like, it's like all Metallica, but then Megadeth started to come back a little bit.
You voted for Megadeth.
I voted for Megadeth.
I voted for Metallica.
I voted for Megadeth because I feel like they're underrated probably already, and Metallica is very not overrated. I'm not gonna say they're overrated, but they're well
rated.
known. They're well known.
They're rated.
They're rated. They're right. They're in the rated category.
So what was do you have the final percentages?
I do have the final percentages.
So
and
Metallica won, and the final percentages were
67 Metallica, 33 Megadeth.
So basically 2/3 to a third.
Yeah, it was
Almost exactly.
pretty good margin. Metallica won by, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, they're the huge name. They literally
That feels like that's what it should have been. You know, like
named
what I
the
would
genre.
guess.
You know,
Yeah. So we have a new poll for you guys, and that's going to go live on Monday.
yeah.
So tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what is that new poll?
We're gonna do acoustic versus electric,
And we're going to let you guys.
Yeah. This is open to
Figure out
your
what that means.
interpretation of that.
Yeah.
And basically, we're thinking an acoustic show. Would you rather go see a bunch of musicians play on a bunch of acoustic instruments?
You might even be able to phrase it as intimate versus the
versus
opposite of
large
intimate.
and yeah. See, that's the weird thing is the words don't
bombastic,
work. So
maybe,
acoustic and electric is what we chose to use, and we'll make a little image of that to hopefully figure out like.
Yeah, it's not specifically guitar, but if you want to vote,
Yeah, some
guitar's
people
fine, do
don't
that.
like big rock and roll in your face, bombastic and loud music. They would much rather go to hang out and sit on a couch and listen to a bunch of musicians
Like
play
indie musicians
acoustically
or something, yeah.
Exactly. Or indie's
Like-
weird
like
because of
indie
the
the
genre. You mean genre, right?
Yeah.
That's a weird word. I always thought
like
too.
coffee house stuff. You know,
I always think like classic is a weird word too. To call something classic rock, or I always think
it's
that's-
like at what point?
Yeah,
does it
when
turn
does it
over
become
to classic?
Because
Yeah.
GNR
like
is
Nickelback
classic rock.
classic because they were like
right in 10 years will they be?
Yeah.
That's weird. Anyways. So
crazy.
acoustic versus electric. Let us know. Vote in the Instagram polls.
Yep.
We'll see what comes. We'll see what comes up.
And we have. I'm super excited for this to come back. It's the solo of the week.
Yeah,
man.
first one of the year.
First one of the year. So let's do. I guess we're kind of out of practice on this, man. How
Let's
do we do
listen
this
to
in the
it.
past?
Let's listen
you
to
just
it and
wanna
we'll
listen
talk
to it
about it.
before we say anything about it.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, we need to announce.
Should we tell what it is?
It's
Right.
The Wicked End by Avenged Sevenfold, and this is Sinister Gates. Let's take a listen. So there it is.
Yeah.
Sinister Gates.
Epic.
The Wicked End. Dude, I can't stop
Epic.
smiling.
I
man.
know, it's so great. I'm glad we did that one as the first one because it's a great solo, and it's kind of maybe.
And I'm super happy that you were really familiar with it as well, because that's
Yeah.
my favorite Avenged Sevenfold song.
Yeah.
And everyone I talk to is like, I don't know that song. So
I've never heard of. There's actually, I shouldn't say this. I've never heard a Sinister Gates solo that he didn't write. It was for a song that he didn't write. The only bad solo I've ever heard Sinister Gates do was the cover of Black Sabbath's "Paranoid." I just thought he just phoned it in. He just didn't try.
Oh, really?
And that's the only thing I've ever heard by him that wasn't amazing. Like I think he's like definitely one of the best guitar players of our generation.
phenomenal guitar player. Yeah. Younger guy too. Which
Definitely.
is cool. So this solo, what jumps out at you, Matt?
The sweep picking is obviously like that's his kind of trademark thing that he really has made it a part of his sound, and I just love the big sound that it just goes great with the song. It's got a lot of orchestral stuff going on, a lot of backing vocals, and the solo seems to lend to all that stuff. Perfectly.
And he uses a lot of interesting like tonalities.
Definitely.
Like it's not all just minor or whatever. So
and the phrasing,
cool.
the phrasing,
his
is
phrasing
so
is
cool.
what I love the most about
He's
him.
amazing.
His
Yeah.
bends and sometimes they'll be slow, sometimes they'll be fat. They're all
I love the
kinds of crazy
ending,
stuff.
and I love that kind of
yeah.
stuff, dude.
And the
It's
solo, this solo I like because it really, some solos feel like, okay, he had 8 bars and he just crammed as much shit as he could in. This solo really feels like he had, like the Sweet Child of Mine solo, he had time to kind of walk us through like a story.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? It starts here,
memorable.
it goes here, it climaxes here, all this kind of stuff.
They say that a good solo should be memorable, like it should be able to like sing it basically. So,
and even though this one has a lot of elements of shred, a lot of fast stuff, I still 100% think it's like, I'll sing the shit out of that.
Me too. I love it. Ben, what did you think about it? This is your first time hearing it?
Yeah, that was awesome.
Cool. That's
I think the thing that stuck out, I mean, I love those bends in there. They're just so, and the whole thing's so clean and everything, very, very technical. And as you're saying, it definitely takes you on a journey almost. It's not just notes, it's very fast notes and a lot of great technique, but it also really says something, Yeah. So
I feel like that's what he's best at, man. He's so tasteful.
Yeah. And it's not that, see, sometimes people, when you say tasteful, their mind goes to slow, like David Gilmour.
Yeah, and that's weird because
and that's not true, because tasteful to me means what the song calls for. And this is an aggressive song with speed and aggression. And you need that attitude, and he delivers it 100%.
And this album, City of Evil, was one, in my opinion,
masterpiece.
It's their masterpiece. It's literally just the conclusion of all their talents, many talents, and every one of them's talent,
And they stayed on that peak, I think, for the White Album. And then the Rev died, and it started going down.
Well, that changed it. They made a tribute album to him, in the middle of the record they were making.
Nightmare was very good.
Yeah.
All the only song that I really felt like was on par with City of Evil was the song Nightmare. I think the song Nightmare is phenomenal, but I think the rest of the album doesn't hold up as well as the other two.
Yeah. So and then I think they switched gears in that record. They had Mike Portnoy had to play the drums for him,
which was a great call.
Yeah. So and then and they've just been experimenting like a lot with their sound and stuff like that, which I get. I mean, a lot of things are changing in the music industry, and they're trying to.
And you have to evolve.
Yeah, they're evolving, exactly. And
just to not be bored.
I love the stage. Like, I'll stand by that record, the new one.
Wasn't as big a fan of the stage, but I honestly haven't listened to it enough to really...
It takes a couple listens to get into it, I think.
I was not a fan of Hail to the King. Was that the name of the album? I know that was the name of the song. Was that the name of the album as well?
Was that the name? Shit, I don't know.
Was not a fan of that record.
I think the songs, a lot of times they get...
it was basically a metal tribute
of making a Metallica record, so... There's that, but I do love the direction they went with more of a single vocal style.
So on the subject of practicing, Sinister Gates has his own guitar school.
Yes.
The best part is it's completely free.
Yes.
All you do is put in your email address, and there are tons of lessons, and they range from very beginner. His dad teaches a lot of them. His dad's
Papa
a phenomenal... Papa Gates. Brian Hayner Senior.
Yep.
Amazing, more country style, I believe, and also
lots
like
of
gypsy
stuff.
jazz and stuff. They both love that. But they teach like beginner guitar, but then you go, I went to some of the advanced stuff just to check out like how advanced it got, and it gets advanced enough. It's very, very good. All kinds of sweep picking techniques, alternate picking techniques, economy picking techniques, and he's got some cool exercises that aren't what you would think.
Yeah. There's an awesome masterclass on YouTube that he did, and they filmed the whole thing and put it on YouTube.
With his dad, right?
I don't think his dad was in it.
I saw something he did with his dad.
No, his dad wasn't. I'm sure there's stuff in that, but he just came. He was in a place in California, like a Guitar Center or something, and they filmed the whole, like, basically just how to be creative, how to stay pushing yourself as a guitar player kind of thing.
That's awesome.
He's like, basically everything's on YouTube now. Like, I hate to say that, but like you can go on there and find so much inspiration. So
here's a question I will pose to both of you guys: if everything is on YouTube now, I mean, is that good or bad? Do we need teachers, or can we teach ourselves?
I think it's good ultimately. I think the mindset changes now. It's not like we're looking for the fastest guitar players anymore. Literally, like now that everything's out there, like there's not much for it to go much harder and much faster. Like there's everybody for that.
Right. The extremes get extremer.
That's what I think. So I think more people learn to find their spot in the middle, and like you can literally hear from each extreme end of music, all that stuff. So it's all out there. You can go out there and listen. I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
What about you, Ben?
Are you talking about music or like tutorials or what?
Yeah, like lessons. Like if you wanted to start playing violin, you could just go to YouTube, right?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I've done so. I do a little bit of music production, and basically everything I've learned has been from YouTube or online, which is incredible. I mean, the amount of information that's just sitting there for you for free is mind blowing. I will say the main thing for me that I've sort of learned is that you most of it is great. Most of it is, 99% of it is really good at least, but you have to be careful of misinformation. And I think that this might be a little more true in, the technical producing side of things versus playing guitar. But even so, if you're watching a tutorial on a video of someone who's teaching something and they're teaching the wrong position or something that could potentially, hinder you down the line, just make sure that you're cross-referencing it with other tutorial videos or whatever.
Misinformation is a big one. I would add the biggest thing we're missing for someone who says, I'm just going to learn on YouTube, is that accountability. Because you have to be a special kind of person with that internal spark, that internal fire that I know the three of us have because I've spent time with each of you.
Yeah.
But not everyone has. And so someone like us could potentially go to YouTube, like Ben's learning audio production, and get a lot out of it.
Yeah.
But like, if you just say it's on YouTube and you look up a couple videos, you're like, whatever, it's not for me. Like, you don't have the drive to really see it through and really improve.
You need to be searching for this information already within yourself. And if you go to YouTube, you'll find everything. Like literally, there's somebody doing everything. There's people trying, like, from doing like speed pick exercises to see how fast people can do. Like, even if it's not, even if it's not a lesson, I'm saying, like, there are just people out there just pushing the edge, right, and pushing the limits, and you can find it all out there. Like,
watch Mike Mangini's World's Fastest Drummer record.
See, that's the kind of stuff that's interesting to get, like, go down rabbit holes, and like you'll learn stuff from.
It was something like 210, 260. I don't remember the number, but somewhere in the 200s, I think, strokes in a minute.
Oh,
yeah. He just it's this practice pad that registers your hits, and he's just like stretching his arms and stuff, and they're like, go, and he just
Jesus,
dude, it's crazy. And this is from a while ago. This is before he was in Dream Theater, but Mangini's a boss. We need to get moving along here. We have an album spotlight. We're calling it Spotlight, not review, because we realize we don't really review them. We just kind of talk about albums we like. So what's that album this week, Matt?
We're going to do Boston's album from 1976.
This is Boston's debut album. Fun fact, the top 3 highest selling debut keyword albums. Number 1, surprise you.
Yeah.
Hootie and the Blowfish.
Yep. Which is crazy, but
number 2, Appetite for Destruction, not surprising. Number 3, Boston, which is what we're talking about today. The fun fact, all 3 of those bands were Evening with the Stars.
Yep,
That's pretty cool. All those bands were represented at Evening with the Stars, man.
That's pretty cool. That's a big night.
It was a fantastic experience, and I can't get over it. So album spotlight, Boston, 1976. Can you pull up the track list while we talk a little bit? So it's a short album. There's 8 songs, although a couple of them are pretty long. But I mean, the track list is like a greatest hits of Boston.
Right. It really is, like, they're all hits. And after the show, I was kind of inspired, and I was like, you know what, man, like, I don't know when the last time I listened to a Boston record all the way through, and I went and I looked at the first record, and I was like, oh, that's where all the good songs are. So
yeah, it's crazy. So
it starts with More Than a Feeling.
It opens with More Than a Feeling, which is one of the most famous rock songs of all time. And then we have Peace of Mind, Foreplay Long Time, which is one of my favorite songs of all time.
Can I just say about Peace of Mind that when you on Amazon Alexa, when you say Peace of Mind, play me Peace of Mind, and I'm trying to get like the LA Maybe, even if I say like DLA Maybe, they go, here's Peace of Mind by Boston. I'm like, well, how did they do that?
I don't think we're going to be surpassing that song.
Well, it does work if you say LA Maybe, I found out. If you don't say the LA Maybe. I don't know why that is, but it does work.
So we have Peace of Mind, then Foreplay Long Time, which is one of my top favorites.
Killer. That was on Guitar Hero and all that too.
Yeah. More Than a Feeling was on Guitar Hero 1, I think.
I might be thinking Foreplay Long Time was on Rock Band, maybe. I'm not sure.
Well, then, speaking of Rock Band, we have Rock and Roll Band, Smokin', and Hitch a Ride. So all of those songs we've said so far are mega hits. Yeah. The last 2 are not as big. Something About You and Let Me Take You Home Tonight.
But still great songs. I mean, this album is a masterpiece. I'll stand by that.
So one of the groups that played at Evening with the Stars was DeCarlo. So Tommy DeCarlo's band. And they played a couple Boston songs, and they played Foreplay Long Time. And they played... if you've ever heard me talk about this song, I don't really like the Foreplay, which is the first like 2 minutes, that section.
It's a long build up.
But Long Time is one of my favorite songs out of it. Yeah. Right there, like 2:30-ish, whenever that comes in, that to the end, love it.
That's it.
But watching DeCarlo, they did a live take on Foreplay.
It was killer.
That was phenomenal.
Yeah.
There was so many interesting syncopations and accents. And
was that Quentin on keys?
No, Quentin wasn't playing with him. But I'll never forget this. You were standing there with me, weren't you?
I was.
Me and Duff are air drumming together, all of the drums in Foreplay Long Time.
And the drummer killed it. He's so good. DeCarlo, the drummer for DeCarlo is awesome.
Yeah, the drummer's really good. Ben, you were watching all that stuff as well, right?
I was right in between you guys.
Oh yeah, you were right next to me. That's right. Yeah, I probably almost knocked your nose off.
That was awesome, man. That was so tight at the show. That was just like,
I
don't know, man.
We kept looking at each other and just being like, Damn.
It revived my love for that record. I literally went to work the next day and put that record on at work, and I just listened to it all the way through. I was like, killer.
What's the runtime? Do you know roughly?
I don't know. No.
4 Long Time is a long one. It's like 7.
Yeah.
7, 8
it
minutes.
doesn't even give it to you here on Spotify either.
Oh man, you gotta get Apple Music. It's way better.
It's worth it though. I got them both.
Yeah, Matt has every streaming service known to man.
People send me stuff from every platform. So
I definitely send you Apple Music stuff because that's what I love and use.
it's fine. I'm totally prepared for all of it.
Yeah, Matt's the music king.
No, I'm not.
Ben, what are your feelings
Stream king.
on Boston's debut record?
Oh my! I mean, some of the chord changes in there are just so. How do you come up with that?
Yeah.
You know,
what comes to mind is More Than a Feeling going to E flat when it's in the key of D. Like what?
Yeah, crazy.
or G. Sorry.
But the thing is that it works so well, and it's one of those things that if I was on the piano or something trying to figure out some chords or something, if I were to come across that, I would my instinct would probably be, oh, that's kind of weird. I probably won't use that. But to go with that and to make it work so well is just, it's incredible. Incredible.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about this one, man.
Yeah, it's a classic record. If you don't know it well, if you've never listened to the whole record, maybe because there's so many great singles out of it, listen to the whole record. You'd be surprised.
And I would say probably listen to the last couple songs. Yeah. I speak for myself. I'm not as familiar with those.
Right.
So I'm saying I need to go listen
Check
to
them out. And they go
songs.
great with the rest of the album. The whole album's a masterpiece. So
it is interesting that the first 6 are huge, and it's the last 2. It's almost like people stop listening. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it seems like if you get that far, the last 2 would be included.
Who knows?
Weird.
One thing I noticed, a trend. I've noticed this trend in modern music. A lot of the biggest songs from a record are the first song.
Oh, right. And
that's happened with a lot of
because
modern
you want to
rock.
make a statement. You want to definitely get people enticed right off the bat. So
and
that's
also
important
think
for a
that
debut
says a lot
record.
about attention spans.
Definitely.
You listen to that first song, you're like, this is sick. All right,
want to be wowed.
none of the others.
Well, that's true too.
Buy the single, that kind of thing.
Yeah, you know how when you listen to a record a lot, you will hear a song that you like, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is the one I like," and then that one by association the next one will become.
Absolutely, dude. I had a whole theory about that too.
We've talked about this before on the podcast, really early. I think we've talked about this. But
okay,
it's a great thing.
We should do this. We should do. I'm forming this idea. We should do some sort of quiz, game show.
Yeah, the song after the hit.
We should name. We could do that. That's brilliant, dude. That is brilliant.
Yeah.
The song
we'll
after
think
the
of
hit.
some. Let's not do it on the podcast right now because it'll take us some time to really narrow this down. But that's a great
one
idea.
that comes to mind right off the bat is Guns N' Roses' Greatest Hits. I tore that CD to the point that it didn't work anymore.
Right.
By the way, the disc itself, coolest design ever. It just looks like it's all scratched up. It's
really?
cool. Yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
I remember my stepdad had it, and I.
So that's
stole it
got
from him
Knocking on Heaven's Door. That's got
so
Dead
Paradise
Flowers.
City was my favorite song, and I think that was track 4 on that
really?
album.
Okay.
And on the Greatest Hits, it's 6 on Appetite.
Yeah.
And so Paradise City is still my favorite song of all time. But the next track, didn't really care for. Finally started loving Knocking on Heaven's Door, number 5.
That's crazy, and that's huge. That's
and I could be wrong, but
song.
I think I'm right on that. But yeah, so it was, and again, got to play Knocking on Heaven's Door with Duff and Ben and the whole crew, and
that's killer. That's such an awesome moment.
It's a highlight of the life, man.
Yep, that's cool.
Absolutely,
it's pretty cool.
Makes it all worth it,
I did want to say this one of the most standout moments to me of the whole day, and Ben, I can't believe you sent me this picture after, but I kept telling people this story. And then Ben sends me this picture and it's the exact moment of the story I'm telling. Me and Chelsea are sitting on the couch trading licks back and forth, and Ben's sitting on the couch to my left, and Duff's sitting in between me and Chelsea, and Duff's just looking back and forth at us trading licks, and he keeps asking me to show him guitar licks and show me what you're doing there. Show me what are you doing right there? All this shit.
Really cool.
And I'm sitting here having this moment with Duff, and little do I know Ben's right to my left taking a picture of this.
Perfect.
And he sends it to me, and I'm just like, dude, that is and that
so
picture
killer.
means more to me than any other picture I got because it captured a moment.
And you weren't. It was candid.
I thought you might want a record of that. That's what I was thinking.
Completely candid, and you can see Duff's face when he's looking at me, and you can tell that the interaction.
Oh, he's happy, man. He's digging it.
Yeah, he was
really
definitely digging it.
Yeah.
And I got one from Side Stage on Easy by Lionel Richie was another one where I think everybody on stage kind of had the same feeling damn, dude, Dallas is killing it. And I loved watching that moment because I was like, these are some industry pros, legends even, That
solo was fun. So it's funny, I almost didn't play on that song at all. But Bruce was like, you should play. And you were I think Hux was like, yeah, there's a solo in the song. So you go, do the solo or whatever. So, the solo I played in rehearsal, I was really feeling, and it's all improvised either way, but I was really feeling the solo in rehearsal, and I was just hoping I could do something close to that for for the show, so I hope I got close to it. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah,
I
you
don't
sure
have any
did.
idea what
That
I
was
played.
fantastic, man. That was really good.
I don't remember, but I was happy. I was happy that it went real smooth. And
There was a solo that you were getting really into, and I forget which song it was, but you kept going, and we were all feeling it, and Hux was like, "Keep going," or whatever. And then
I think that was Knocking on Heaven's
I think
Door
it
because
was
I played the Slash solo note for note, the second one, the big
And then
one.
you kept going
and
and
it got to the
improvised.
end, and I glanced up at Duff, and he's looking at me like, "Don't stop, keep going."
Right.
And I had to just make up some shit, and then Duff goes to the mic and says, "What does he say? Take it, Dallas," or some shit like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, Duff knows my name. Like, he should. We spent 12 hours together.
Right.
So, but yeah, that was a cool moment, and that moment's on my Instagram and the Musicians Talk Show
Yes.
Instagram as well.
Yeah, and I posted some
I
stuff
put the
too.
series of photos together. So one is the photo of me and Duff,
Yeah.
and then the other one is the one I was talking about that Ben took.
Yeah, there's video and
And in the photo Ben took, it's funny, you can see his leg, so you can totally tell like Ben's taking it because like his jeans are like at the very bottom.
Nice.
And then the third one is the video my girlfriend took of me playing the Knocking on Heaven's Door solo.
Yeah, from
So that
the
was
from the
cool.
crowd, and that was cool because I didn't get to enjoy the show from the crowd, but
You got that side stage
I got the
experience.
side
Which
stage
how was
was
that, by the way?
it was cool. I couldn't hear everything as loud because the monitor mixes obviously are facing you guys, and but still awesome to watch everybody's interaction and how good a time everybody was having. It was very infectious. It came off to the side stage. Everybody on the side stage was having a great time.
Yeah.
You know, because you were not playing every song, so
Right,
you
right. Yeah,
definitely
I was
realized that
side stage a bunch,
everybody
yeah.
was enjoying that the entire time. That
and
never
the side
stopped.
stage was packed.
Yeah.
Dude, there were probably 15 people
A lot
around the
of, lot of
sides
help,
of the stage.
a lot of
Like,
volunteer help was
yeah,
really cool.
and the other bands that weren't playing, and you know all the stuff that
security.
was going on.
Yep, cameraman.
Oh shit!
All of it was
God
great.
Damn it! Am I about to forget another thing, dude?
Just that we were just talking about the show being different from side stage versus
Oh, the monitor mix, yeah.
And-
so
right.
one funny story. Ben and I are sharing a monitor,
Yeah.
and Ben's playing an electric violin, which you can't hear at all. I'm running
Yeah.
my Kemper, which obviously makes no noise. So we're having to kind of like balance our mix. So you know, I don't really care that much. So Ben's like. He needs as much violin as he gets, so he gets that dialed in. And so what ends up happening is when I'm on my solo channel, my guitar boosts, and Ben won't be able to hear himself. But when I'm not, he can hear himself fine, and that's when he's soloing, I'm not, so it ended up working out. But when he took his solo on Louie at the end, I don't know if it got like cranked or if Ben, you started playing harder or something, but that thing almost knocked me off my feet.
I think that
It came out of that monitor like
we were talking about that earlier, and I think I stepped up and I was just like slamming into the strings there.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it was awesome. It was like Ben solo, here we go, and it was just like like coming up out of the monitor, like physically feeling the air. It was so loud, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It was awesome though. It was a good solo.
Yeah, it's
I
fine
love
if
that
you're
we all
feeling
kind of
it.
traded solos there at the end on Louie.
Yeah,
Louie.
definitely.
That's
It was
fun.
cool.
and also the other thing we haven't talked about yet is Quentin's solo in Evil Woman at
Yeah.
the beginning of Evil
Oh
Woman.
yeah, dude.
Amazing, huge,
Next
That
level.
was killer.
See, I don't even think about that stuff because I've spent so much time around Quentin, and I know that he's capable of this just inhuman ability to just like, hey, Quentin, play something, and it's the most beautiful thing
Yeah.
you've ever heard, and it's
Well,
jazzy
here's
and
the
it's
thing,
bluesy and
'cause-
it's cool and it's emotional, and you're just like, how?
Yeah, he's amazing.
Right, I know. And we had the rehearsal the day before when we were kind of figuring out the parts and everything. And Hux was like, Quentin, take a solo at the beginning of Evil One. Why don't you? That'll be fun. And he did a little couple times when we ran it a couple times, and they were great. They were really, really cool. But as soon as you get him on stage for that performance, I mean, it was just he did so much cool stuff in there, and I think Hux was just saying, keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Another testament to the players. I mean, everybody there was on their game. It was awesome.
yeah.
That was the only time we nailed the beginning of Evil Woman too, was during the show.
Nice.
Where we all started
Didn't all
together.
work out perfectly every
Yeah,
time. But
because
then
in rehearsal we were all like, when do we
it
start?
counts. Yeah, when it counts, it works. That's awesome.
Yeah. Man, any final thoughts as we wrap up before Matt plugs his upcoming
Oh
show?
yeah. Well,
And I also wanted to talk a little about your guys' rehearsal, but any other final thoughts on Evening with the Stars or anything related?
just it was awesome. I'm so glad to have been a part of it. It's great.
Yeah,
awesome,
it was so much fun and definitely a highlight that I will remember forever, probably.
Yeah, I'm glad it was well documented. A lot of footage just got. It was very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So yeah, what you were talking about before is the Prep and Barium show coming up next week. That's cool. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
Plug it. What you got?
So at Hattie's in Charlotte, Hattie's Tap and Tavern, we'll be playing with 3 other bands. A little showcase by Mad Park Designs, which they're a t-shirt company, and they do all things artistic too. So a really cool, really fun event. It's gonna be awesome. Dallas is.
And I sat in on the rehearsal yesterday, and you guys are sounding good.
Yeah, I think I'm definitely happy with how everything's come together.
I'd say rest your voice up though.
Definitely, that's one of the things. We did a little vocal session just before the podcast, even.
Yeah, Matt's one of my favorite things about Matt is he's so chill and like. I guess the word might be nondescript in real life. Like you're very much just like, hey man, how's it going?
Right.
But Matt has the ability to like, he can turn it on.
Yeah.
Like, so when it's time to sing, like Matt turns it on.
There's a
and
thing.
It's like balls out, like full on grit, like screaming. And then he'll stop and be like, yeah, man, was that a good take?
And I think that came from learning how to sing in a car. You know, like you can really try things in a car, and you learn that if you really push yourself, you can do a lot more than you think. So
yeah. It's one of my favorite things about recording the Prep and Barium stuff is just hearing you just like blistering take, just like, was that good?
It's funny. It's like a funny contrast.
Yeah, the complete contrast is one of my favorite things.
Totally. Thanks.
Even just doing that there, I messed up my throat. Cool, man. Any other final thoughts from anyone?
Drew, it was nice talking to you, man.
You said
awesome.
Drew, Ben.
Ben,
You're
my
thinking
bad.
about your drummer.
My bad. Ben, you know what I mean.
Your brain's on Prep and Barium right now.
It was, dude. We switched over. But it was awesome meeting you and awesome watching you play, man. Really great.
Yeah, well, I want to thank you guys for having me on. This has been a great hour. The show was awesome. It was great talking to you guys, and best of luck with the show.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, buddy.
Super pumped.
Totally.
All right, everybody. Signing off.
All right.